Here's a brief overview of the new features in PolyNome 2.2.7. The first is if you have a device with force touch, you can force touch the app icon if you want to jump straight to the presets or the playlist manager screens. Otherwise, just tap on the icon to load it. I've added information buttons in a lot of places, so you can see one here which will take you to information about the mixer. You can see at the top of the presets page, that will take you to information about the presets. There's now the option to have tap tempo on the main screen. So it used to be that you would tap and it would take you straight into the quick tempo editor, and the tap tempo was in here. But now if you go to preferences, you can choose tap tempo on main page, and if you switch that on, then on the main page, tapping will set the tap tempo, and you would then press and hold to go to the quick tempo editor. Another change is when you go to a save dialog or a rename dialog, the current name will be in there in case you want to just append something to that, and you can clear it with the X. Okay, in the mixer, we have a new space underneath to help you to scroll. When you change the volume levels, you'll see the label at the top of the fader. It shows you the percentage so that your thumb's not getting in the way. If you want to make small adjustments, you can tap below the fader to jump in 1% steps down, or above the fader to jump in 1% steps up. If you tap and hold below the fader, it will jump to the nearest 10%. And then all the way on the right, we have some new faders for swing and delay. Now with the swing fader, if you tap and hold, it will jump to triplet swing, and you can see up here the swing value. Tap again and it will jump to dotted note swing. Tap again and it will jump to 66% swing. And again, you can tap to make small adjustments. And then if you turn on link for swing, then the two metronomes, they will have their swing changed together. And delay is a new feature that allows you to add a delay to one of the metronomes. And if you tap on the delay label, you can choose what the maximum delay will be. So a 16th note, an 8th note, or a quarter note. And when you move the fader, you will see the delay here. So if we push this all the way to the top, this metronome will be delayed by 1/16. So I'll show you how you can use that later for creating grooves with beats that come behind the beat or ahead of the beat. We have some new sounds on the change sounds page. We've got some beeps, and we have a stick click. We have a couple of practice pad sounds, which are useful if you're working on the practice pad and you want something that sounds like what you're actually hitting. So I'm going to put a rhythm in here so I can show you some of the other features. On the change sounds page, when you enter a rhythm in here, and then you tap on the second line, you'll notice that it says you can press and hold for options. So pressing and holding either of these lines will give you extra options. So if I press and hold on line 2, it allows us to copy the sticking from line 1 or switch lines. So if I switch lines, you'll see that they get swapped around. Tapping on line 1 and holding, I can copy the sticking from line 2. And we can edit this a bit. And then if there's content in the line and you tap and hold, you have the option to swap letters or sounds. So if I clear this and program a paradiddle, so let's say you're a lefty and you want the stickings to be inverted, you can tap and hold, choose swap letters stroke sounds, and we want to swap the right hand with the left hand. And then the action that we want is swap. If you choose replace, then all the right hands will be replaced with left hands. So we'll just end up with a bar of right hands. So we want to swap them, and we want to change the letters around. And then this option is for whether or not you want to change the sounds assigned with the letters. So the right hand was associated with the hi-hat. So if we're swapping sound assignments, then that will swap that over. So you'll see that the right hand is now associated with the snare and the left hand is with the hi-hat. and the sticking has been changed. Now when we go to the change accents page, you'll notice the new feature is that you can see the sticking underneath, which makes it a lot more clear what you're adding accents to. So we can add some accents in here, and you can actually click on the sounds to go and change those if you wanted. So let's clear line 2 and then hit done. We'll go back to the accents page. And if you tap and hold on the accents here, you have an option to invert accents. I'll show you how that can be useful in a moment. So before we do that, a couple of new things over here. On the playlist page, you can tap and hold the playlist name to jump straight to the playlist manager. And you can tap and hold a playlist item to load it immediately. So let me demonstrate a few of these new things. Let's create a new preset called Delayed Groove. And let's go ahead and put an 8th note rhythm in here. And what I'll do is just program a regular kick snare groove. So we'll have hi-hats on all of the top line. And on the bottom line, we'll have kick, snare, kick, kick, snare. And then we'll hit done. Now what I want to do is copy this pattern into Metronome 2. So you can do this by tapping on the preset name, choosing copy preset, and that copies everything in here. And then we tap on Metronome 2 and choose paste options. And what we want to do is copy everything that was in Metronome 1 and paste that into Metronome 2. So I'll hit select all, and that will copy the overlay sounds and volumes and rhythms and stickings and everything. When we hit paste, you'll see we now have the same thing in Metronome 1 and Metronome 2. So now what we can do is tap on Metronome 1, change accents, and accent everything apart from the snare drum notes. So we want accent, accent, rest, accent. And you'll see that's just going to leave the snare drum notes alone. We hit done. And in fact, if I copy this and paste, so same thing, but this time we'll have the accents included. So now what I can do is change the accents of Metronome 2, tap and hold, and invert them. And now it's only going to accent the snare drum part. So if we go ahead and push the accent fader for Metronome 1 all the way up, that means we're only hearing the accented parts of this pattern. And if we push the accent fader for Metronome 2 all the way up, it means we're only hearing the accented parts of this pattern. So we'll hear the first 2 notes out of Metronome 1 and the 3rd note out of Metronome 2, etc. So when I play this, if I mute Metronome 2, you'll notice that we've lost the snare drum there. And since that's where the snare drum is, we can add a delay to Metronome 2. So that's a severe delay, but we can bring this back to hear what it sounds like if we play the snare just a little bit behind the beat. So I'll tap above the fader to increment in 1% steps. And you'll notice we can get to about 128th note delay, and it still sounds acceptable. If you wanted to hear what it sounded like to put the snare ahead of the beat, you can link the faders and push them up, say to 50%, and then unlink them. So now everything's delayed by 50%, and we can pull Metronome 2 a little bit earlier, so that will start to be ahead of the beat. So that's an early snare. So let's link these and get rid of the delay, and we can link the swing and add some swing to that. So that's a summary of the new features in PolyNome 2.2.7. If you enjoy the new features and you enjoy using PolyNome, then please either leave a review on the App Store or update your old one, as all previous reviews are reset with each new update. And they really do help people to decide whether or not this is going to be an app for them. Also, if you go to the About Help page, you can click on the Facebook page and the Twitter feed, and you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter to find new videos with tips for how to use it and get the most out of it. Thanks for using PolyNome.